near side, dangles around the defender, shoots, big blocker save. And now we're going to get some fisticuffs thrown around here. New week, new episode. We are back with another episode of the Blizz Show podcast brought to you by our friends at H&R Block here in town. All right, we've had all sorts of different kinds of people here on the show, all kinds of different players from different places. So we haven't had much of Midwest guys. I mean, if you want to call Illinois Midwest, you can. But true Midwest boys are here. South Dakota native, Nebraska native. It's Gabe Wahl, the Omaha, Nebraska native. Gabe, what's up? How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. Have you ever done one of these before?
No.
Okay, you're good. You're a pretty smooth talker. I think you'll be just fine. Have you ever watched any other podcasts before?
Yeah, I've watched a few.
Okay. Joe Rogan?
Joe Rogan.
That's
Joe
a good
Rogan
one.
guy.
That's always a good one, man. That's always good. Okay, so let's get right into it with Omaha, Nebraska. Now, I've been there a couple times, been to Lincoln. Nice place for a kid to grow up. So before we get into kind of the hockey side of things and really just kind of digging the nuts and bolts of what it was like to play hockey in Omaha, kind of off the ice, what was growing up in Omaha or Omaha, Nebraska? What was that like?
It's a slower part of the country, I guess, wherever I lived at, but it's nice. You know, you're in the city, you know, and then you can drive 10 minutes out and you're out in the country, and it's nice. It's not overly big and it's not overly small. So I mean, it was a fun place to grow up. I liked it.
You seem like you're a big city kind of guy. Did it ever bother you that you weren't in the huge city when you were growing up?
I mean, as much as I like the big city, I also like the outdoors.
Okay.
Just as much. But I mean, I do enjoy being in the city. I mean, I like it for the most part. But I mean, there is times where I just want to go back to the more outdoors and the slower part of life. But I like both. I like both.
You mentioned the outdoor part. What's like the best outdoor activity to do when you were growing up in Nebraska?
Ooh, fishing and hunting and just I don't know, it's just being outdoors, I guess. It really is just not being inside and doing stuff like that.
Okay. What's your biggest fish you ever caught? Because I went deep sea fishing in Hawaii, 50-pound mahi-mahi in the deep sea parts of Maui.
Okay. Nothing that major.
No.
I don't know, probably like a 6-pound bass.
6 pounds. Okay, that's not bad.
He kind of went up to me there by saying some crazy.
Hey, you know what? 44 pounds, I'll take it. You know, he's much more bigger than me. He'd beat me in a fight any day. So I got to get in the hands somehow with the words or something. So growing up in Nebraska, you talked about kind of just a nice little place for a kid to grow up, and there's not a lot of crime there, so it's a great place for a kid to really grow up and just kind of experience life in a bunch of different ways. But let's get on to the ice. So you've been playing. How long have you been playing? First of all, when did you first put on a pair of skates?
Could be wrong, but I want to say I started skating around 3, and then just after that is when I got into hockey.
Okay, has it always been hockey for you? Has there been another sport you've always wanted to play?
You know, I kind of had, every kid has to play different sports. I played baseball up until I think my 8th grade year, and football. I tried football out in 7th grade. Didn't like it. Broke my finger in like the first practice.
Oh gosh.
So I'm not much for other sports. I mean, I kind of got forced into them probably.
You look like you're the linebacker kind of type in football. Is that what you played, or what position did you play?
I don't even remember. Water boy, maybe.
Football's football, and water boy's water boy. You got to get that high quality H2O, eh?
Yeah, of course.
Perfect. So with the teams in Nebraska, it seems like it's a great place to play hockey. Kind of a low key, great place to play. Talk about what it was like growing up playing hockey in Nebraska.
It was a really good experience. I got really lucky because Dave Wilkie is the head coach for the Omaha Lancers now. He brought me up. I've been playing him since I was a squirt. So he brought me up all the way till 16th year. He's one of the best coaches around. He's coached for the Lancers now. He's a great guy. I mean, he toughens you up real quick. But I've played for him pretty much my whole life. He was my first coach, but he put Omaha on the map for hockey. There wasn't much of a program before he came, and now they're one of the powerhouse AAA programs, and Lancers are doing great. So yeah, I got really lucky playing for him, and the fact that he stayed in Omaha all those years, and I got to play for him. What's
the biggest piece of advice he's kind of given you as a player to just move forward and be a more solid player on the ice?
I think he just kind of taught me to stay true to myself. Play with confidence, play with a little bit of a swagger, and you got to go out there and play your game and not try to be somebody else. You mentioned the coach as a guy you looked up to a little bit, and he really matured your game. Kind of away from the ice or on the ice, it really doesn't matter. Was there someone else in particular in your life that you kind of just looked up to the most growing up? Cliche it is, but my dad is always a big part of that and drove me around, drove me to all these games and stuff. And, he instilled some good principles in my life. So, I looked after my dad quite a bit. I followed his footsteps a little bit as far as, like how to live your life and, stuff like that.
What's the best advice he's given you? And I would say more so away from the rink, just kind of just as a man growing up and just becoming and maturing and being a man.
without sort of saying it, so to speak, but just demand respect. Treat people with respect, and they'll treat you with respect, I suppose.
You got that on the ice. You're not afraid to drop the mitts every now and then, like we saw in Aberdeen. But hey, that's a pretty good thing right there. So high school, and then you went to the Omaha Lancers. We talked about the Omaha Lancers a little bit. The U16 program. You got to play with Krogman. You got to play with Frost and some of the other teammates you play with here in Brookings. It really seems to be kind of one of the more prestigious programs for junior hockey to kind of get your footstep in, like Bell Tire and Little Caesars and Omaha are the first three teams that come to mind for me.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about the coach a little bit, but beside the coach and just bonding with the boys and becoming a better hockey player, what was that experience like for you?
In Omaha, they ran it like a junior program. You go on these long bus trips. You'd be on for a week and a half to 2 weeks at a time. Like, you did a lot of things with the guys, practice every single day. You're at the rink from right after school to 7 o'clock at night, and you spent a lot of time with the guys. I went to school with all the guys at a school in Valley, Nebraska. So I was with them 24/7. And you get to know, like I said, like I was really good friends with Carter before, and I knew Kendrick growing up. So like you really get to know those guys, every single one of them, because you're with them, so often.
Yeah. Before we get to the NAHL and when you started with Shreveport and Kenai River, was it always junior hockey was something you always wanted to do? Like when you were growing up, you were like, you know what, I'm going to go play junior hockey. I'm going to go to get a Division I scholarship, maybe get to play in the NHL one day. Was junior hockey something you would always set your sights on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, growing up, when I played on 16s, I always watched some of the 18s guys go, and they would play, games with other adult teams, or a lot of 16s guys would go and play with like USHL teams, and yeah, it was definitely like my dream from the start, definitely. And as I got older, I realized this is definitely what I want to do. There's a lot of options out there, and yeah, I mean, I'm happy where I'm at. Junior hockey was definitely where I wanted to go.
So you started in Shreveport in the NHL, right?
Yep.
So that's a pretty damn good place to start.
Yeah,
One of the most stable organizations in the league, and they got a great fan base down there. Yeah. Kind of describe before you went to Kenai River what playing in Shreveport was like.
I played for Shreveport. I played a full year there, and I loved it. I have family down south, so I already loved the South. I lived with a great family. I lived with a very prestigious family in Shreveport. I love the Southern hospitality. I love the more, like, so to speak, redneck side of things.
That's awesome.
There. But yeah, I love Shreveport. I mean, the fans were insane. One of my billet houses was completely like a Mudbugs themed house. It was crazy. It was definitely like, it really opened my eyes to what junior hockey is all about. The South Division is a great division. They all come from like ex-pro teams, so it was a really good experience to start out there. Do
you feel like you maybe were a little spoiled to start out your junior hockey career playing in that kind of environment? Maybe spoiled's the wrong word, but I think you kind of get what I'm saying. How appreciative were you to be able to play there first before you went to Kenai River?
I was so young. Like, I feel like when I went there, that in my head, like, okay, everywhere is like this. Like everywhere is getting 4,000 fans a game. The people are like crazy. The sponsors are crazy. Like you go out and people pay for your food. Like, I was under the impression that's what everything was like. But yeah, when I went to Kenai, it was a little bit different change of pace. But I mean, nonetheless, it was still another good place to play. But yeah, I was definitely a little bit spoiled. I kind of opened up a little bit more when I went to Kenai, because I wasn't aware that everywhere was like that.
Yeah. So we had a little conversation before you guys went and played Kenai River before at the showcase, and that was a team you played with for a year, and you guys played against them in the showcase. Ultimately, you guys fell in defeat, even though you had 3 assists and you really stuck it to them individually on the stat sheet. Kind of describe kind of what you told me a little bit, and just kind of what it was like to be able to play with Kenai River before you came to Brookings.
I had very mixed emotions going in there, but Alaska was a cool place to live for the most part.
Yeah.
Like everywhere I go, I always find really good friends that I still stay in touch with, and it was definitely cool to say that I've done there. I've played in Alaska. I've kind of lived the experience, the whole full Alaskan experience. As far as my billet family goes, where I lived at in Alaska, and it was fun. I made a lot of friends, and I have no animosity towards Kenai. It was fun while it lasted and everything, but it was a good time.
Even though you lost the game, what was it like to put up 3 points against them in that showcase game?
It felt good. The coach and I have a weird sort of relationship. It's a very love-hate relationship. We're both really intense, but
yeah.
I let him know I was out there that day. That's for sure. I had some choice words for the coach and everything, so It was definitely I like putting up points against them.
Absolutely, and that's where the majority of your points have gotten early on in the season. So it's good to stick it to your old team, even though you did lose the game. So you come to Brookings, and it's a lot. Let's just say Brookings is 24,000 people.
Yeah.
Shreveport, there's a lot of people there. It's a bigger rink, and Kenai River is also a bigger place as well. I mean, Alaska seems like a really cool place to live, in my opinion, just to experience that for a year. So you come to Brookings, you get to live with your buddy Carter Krogman, who's also from here, so he kind of shows you around and okay, this is what Brookings has to offer. So far, in a nutshell, what has your experience been like in Brookings so far?
I really like it. It reminds me a lot of home. It's not that big, but it's not small. I mean, it's not too small. So I really liked it. Like living with Carter was definitely a big plus coming in because I didn't know any. This is like one of the only teams in the league when I came. I didn't know nobody on. Yeah. And so living with Carter is nice. I think the first day I was here, we went to an SDSU basketball game, and so living with Carter definitely helped. Having a familiar face there, but. I like it. I know where everything's at. There's enough places to eat and enough things to do around here so you don't get too bored. But I like it. I like where I'm at.
What about the fans and just the fact that they kind of can come up to you? And, I mean, you maybe not like, oh, that's Gabe Wahl, plays for the Blizzard. But, hey, you play for the Blizzard. Like, that's got to be a really good feeling, huh?
Yeah, definitely. For the most part, people know who you are. You can say who you are, and, they'll definitely know. And the fans are they're really good here. It's nice when people know like what the team is and they support you and everything.
So you guys had a really tough start to the year. I mean, you guys had a 7-game losing streak at one point, and it's hard. I can imagine as a young guy to stay motivated and stay on path. Like, hey, we got to stick on this track because our ultimate goal is to get Division I scholarships, and the ultimate goal is to win a Robertson Cup. Yeah. So how do you, in the face of adversity like that, how in the world do you stay so positive and keep moving forward?
A lot of it has to do with just having fun. Like we're all still playing because it's fun, and we're all very lucky. I mean, we have some guys going to school, but for the most part, I'm not taking classes. All I got to do is wake up and play hockey, and just
it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a great life. So just stay like having fun, being positive. Like even if it's just little things in practice about being positive, kind of having fun, like and. It mostly just has to do with that. I like to have fun, and like that's how you stay positive. You're having fun, you're winning games, and everything's going right.
Now, from the technical side of things, your speed is just off the charts. Your shot is really fast for a forward. Your shot is really strong. Individually, where do you feel like you want to improve the most in your game this year?
I think my defensive side being a little bit harder on the puck and winning more battles definitely needs to improve. Just being stronger in the D zone, knowing when to take the body and when not to take the body, kind of separating guys from the puck. Just more of the D side of things.
Okay, perfect. And it's good that you can admit that, like early on in your career, because a lot of times I can tell you when I was 19 or 20, when I was your age, I had a hard time trying to admit, okay, this is where I need to nitpick my game. So what's something that Mo Mantha has really preached to you that kind of has just stuck with you? Because he played 13-plus years in the NHL. He knows what the heck he's talking about. What's something that he said that stuck with you?
He likes to preach never, stoop down to somebody's level. Always play at your ability and play at your 100%. Never go down to somebody else's level. And I think that's really stuck with me. Not if we're having a bad game, not to start getting worse. Play to my level and my ability.
I wish I could play for Mo Mantha when I was your age. Oh, boy, that would have been something fun. Yeah. Support for the Blizz Show podcast, guys, is brought to you by our friends out at H&R Block, the part of the program where I tell you guys a little bit about H&R Block. Now, the tax reform is going to be affecting everyone's next tax return, so if you don't want to be surprised at tax time next year, what you need to do is you got to go visit H&R Block to find out how it's going to affect you and your taxes. Now, if you are in the Watertowns of the Brookings area, new clients can go visit Wayne Negstead and be sure to tell him Weston DeWitt sent you, the voice of the Blizzard, to get a 25% discount off your first tax preparation. H&R Block in Brookings is located at the University Mall, and for more information, call 605-692-5715. Again, that's 605-692-5715. And no, the cough is just happens, folks. Get used to it. Rapid fire time here with Gabe Wahl, the Omaha, Nebraska native. Now, the fun part of the program where the boys have a lot of fun with this, so just kind of random questions, not really, just kind of on the fun side of things. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask Gabe 5 questions. Has not seen these before. We did mention Carter Krogman, but there is a question about him in this, so I'm anxious to hear what he has to say about that. But question number 1, you're a big Montreal Canadiens guy. You right about that?
Yep.
Okay, you took Max Domi away from us, and us meaning Coyotes, and I can be unobjective on this thing because I'm a Coyote fan. Right. Expectations for the Montreal Canadiens this year are what?
I'd say late stages of the playoffs. I think that they might be able to clutch out, get into the final stage, but I'd say I'd be happy with just getting to the late stages of the playoffs.
Are you happy with Carey Price in between the pipes? Because I get the impression that some Canadiens fans are over him.
You know, he's such a stud, and I mean, he's arguably like one of the best goalies in the NHL. I don't think he's been off his game a little bit lately, but I mean, it's still Carey Price. You know, you say his name and people have confidence in him, so I think he'll figure it out.
And he demands respect. That's a guy who has to have respect. I'm a big fan of Carey Price. So I asked one of the guys, I forgot who it was, but I said, "Who's the best dressed guy on the team?" And the first question was, they were like, "Oh, it's Gabe Wahl." Absolutely, Gabe Wahl. So I know you're a big suit guy. You like to come to the rink and style a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I did ask Hayden Karnick this question as well. The best brand of suit in the world is what?
Oh, Hugo Boss makes a good suit.
Yeah.
Versace can throw a good suit together. You know, David August, the McGregor line, can throw a good suit together. There's all sorts of them.
August McGregor coming soon. We both got to get one of those. Yeah. I do have a Hugo Boss suit. I do got to show you that before I go.
It's a good suit.
Biggest quirk or annoyance in living with Carter Krogman is what? And by the way, when he comes on the show, the same question will be asked. So be careful.
Okay, well that's fine. I don't have any quirks.
Yeah.
There's so many. I suppose I'm being generous. He's super. He sleeps a lot.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, well, he sleeps through alarms. You know, he naps all day. So, I mean, I got to do a lot of stuff on my own, or I just got to wake him up in the morning. But he's a heavy sleeper. I don't like it.
Have you ever dumped water on his face?
No, I usually just come in there and flip the lights on and say we got to go for the most part. But he's getting a little better. You know, I've had to wake him up a few times, and if it weren't for me, we'd be late to some practice and stuff.
What you need to do is get a bucket of water and pull Talladega Nights.
Yeah.
And just do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still got to live with them. We haven't gone at each other yet, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about the UFC. We're big UFC guys. We were able to watch the Conor McGregor fight on the bus together. So McGregor's obviously, I mean, he's just such a superstar in every sense of the word. He appeals to our generation. He's just such an awesome fighter. So there's so many questions you can ask about Conor McGregor, but the one I want to ask you is, he's been so notorious, pun intended, for his great quotes at press conferences. Right. The best quote of all time from Conor McGregor at a press conference is what? Without cursing, of course.
Without cursing. At a press conference or just in general?
Just in general. You know what? Let's change it. Just in general. Best quote ever.
All right. I like the "We're not here to take part. We're here to take over" is a good one. Yes. I also like the one where he said, "Gods recognize gods." That's a good one.
That's so funny.
There's a lot of them. All of his quotes are.
I get handed the check. Yeah. I'm like, all right then.
Yeah.
I'll do it one more time. Mm-hmm. So, last question. This is one of the more fun ones that we like to ask the guys here on the show. Who plays Gabe Wahl in a motion picture? If your life is based on a whole movie, who would play Gabe Wahl?
I would say Brad Pitt or Johnny Depp.
Okay, you need to put on more muscle if you're Brad Pitt.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm nowhere near Brad Pitt. He's a great-looking cat.
He is, right. Right. Well, I think that's a pretty good start. I'd say Paul Walker would play me, but in rest in peace, may God rest his soul. Oh, boy. I have no idea who else would play me, so, I got to pull myself together here a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
I'll figure it out. That's Gabe Wahl, folks, here on the Blizz Show podcast. So before we go, we'd like to make sure that you guys can follow these guys on social media, keep up with what's going on in their life, whether Instagram, Twitter. I know you're a big Instagram guy, so where can guys follow you on Instagram? You forgot your
Instagram account.
You forgot it. You can pull out your phone. That's fine.
I deleted Twitter.
You deleted Twitter. I noticed that. I was trying to tag you in a photo, and and your Instagram was not there.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling it too much anymore.
Pulling out the phone.
27G_Wahl.
When you got here, it was 26, but you changed your number.
I've had so many numbers in the last 2 years.
So many numbers. How many times have you changed your? How many times have you changed that thing?
Probably 5 different times.
Every time
I come to a new team, I got to change the number.
Oh, my God. That's true. You know what? 27, that's a good number. Why 27 instead of 26 real quick?
Alexei Kovalev used to play for the Montreal Canadiens. Has been my favorite player growing up, so I wanted to get back to his number.
I knew I was forgetting to ask a question before we went off the air. The favorite player you growing up was Alex Kovalev.
Yep.
Oh, I remember that. The 2008 Super Skills. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
Just when he went out there and, oh, my God, those guys were incredible.
Yeah, he's a stud.
He is a stud. Gabe Wahl, folks, the Lincoln, Nebraska product. Make sure you guys go follow him on Instagram, 27G Wahl or whatever the heck it was. I'm not the Instagram. He is. So go follow him. That's Gabe Wahl, Weston Wood, and the Blizz Show podcast. We'll be back with another episode next week. See you guys later.